When I teach on apologetics, and specifically when I'm trying to prove that God exists, I like to draw on the work of R.C. Sproul. And in his book, Defending Your Faith, he presents these four options for where the universe comes from. First of all, he says the universe is an illusion, reality is an illusion. Second one he says is that reality is self-created, it just came into existence by chance. The third one is he says that reality itself, the universe, is self-existent, it's eternal. And the fourth one he says is that the universal reality has come about as a result of a self-existent being, so a God who's always existed, and then this God, he creates the universe. So those are the only four options that he could come up with, and he's put it on trial for decades. And so those are the four options. And so what he then does is he tries to argue for option four, that the universe must be created by a self-existent being, because the first three options are refuted by science and by logic. Okay, so I'm normally the one that people believe is that the universe came into existence by chance. I'm not fighting that one right now. I want to fight the first one, that reality is an illusion. Because I remember the last time I taught a little apologetics class at our church, some of the folks in the class said, well, why can't reality be an illusion? Who says that the external world is really there? Maybe this is everything you're seeing right now is just in your head. Okay, so this is an interesting philosophical question for us to consider, and how do we answer it, particularly as a Christian now, how do we attack this? And the way that I like to do it is with a little illustration, or using simple, let's take that idea that if all of this is an illusion, let's consider what that would mean. Okay, so this would mean that all of the people in the world are just in your head. And you see, my favorite illustration is all of these books on this shelf. If you're the one watching it, you're the one thinking these thoughts, right? So I'm a figment of your imagination too. And all of these books on my shelf, you wrote them. This shelf doesn't exist, it only exists in your mind. But all of the content of these books, that exists. Think about this too. All of the languages in the world. There's so many thousands of languages. You can go on Google Translator, which you also invented, because if you're the only person in existence, all of those languages, you also wrote them. They are all springing from your mind. And so here's my Hebrew Bible. And you see that there, and I'm assuming that you can't read Hebrew, although you can read Hebrew because you're the one who invented this, okay? So you see how absurd this is. It would mean that your mind is so sophisticated that you constructed the entire earth, the entire universe, all of the books, all of the languages. You are the author of all of that. And yet, while at the same time your mind was so genius as to create all of that, at the same time you're so stupid as to not to be able to understand any of these things. You don't even know all of the books in existence, and you can't. You don't know. You only know one or two languages. You see, so it is so absurd to think that you are the only mind that exists, because that would mean that your mind is extremely powerful. You would basically have to be God in order to construct this crazy reality. Okay, so that is one of my favorite examples to refute this idea. There's also, I'll just keep going here for a minute. There's also the idea that how do we know that the universe didn't just come into existence 5 seconds ago? So this is an interesting question, because you could say, no, maybe they are aliens, or super advanced aliens, or a god of something. Let's say God. And God created the universe 5 seconds ago, but he gave us these memories where we think that we existed before this. Okay, so I have memories from where I grew up, and there's all this memories about 9/11 and COVID-19, all that stuff. No, none of that happened. The universe only came into existence 5 seconds ago. Okay, well, that's another interesting idea. If that is the case, then it has severe ramifications of who God is. So in that case, God would basically be evil, because he would, what kind of God? The only kind of God who would play that kind of sick game would be an evil God. For instance, all of the atrocities, all of the rapes and the murders and the horrible things that had happened in the past, they didn't actually happen in the past, but God is the one who then created those things in his mind and implanted them into us, pretending as if we did those evil things. So you could see how the consequence of believing that the universe only came into existence 5 seconds ago but we come up with all these memories that are fake memories, that would require that God is evil. So we also reject that notion. Anyway, so those are just some interesting philosophical thoughts for you to think about. And remember that first one, why do we need reality to be real? Because those are one of the options for explaining what is going on in the world. So we need to refute that one in order to then afterwards go and show, no, there is a real reality and it needed to come from somewhere. And we think the best explanation is that it came from a self-existent being who is God.